program will begin shortly. Launch sequence. Activate. Warning, the following content is not politically correct. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the channel today, everyone. I am Sarah Higdon. This is Transform to Freedom. Welcome back. So I was out last week. If you've been watching some of my social medias, especially my Instagram, you would know that I was in Austin, Texas, hanging out with some really cool people. So like last Monday, actually, I was hanging out with Carrie Smith, who runs, if you guys have been a friend of the show for a while, you know me and Carrie have been friends for quite a while, and she has the show Deprogrammed with Carrie Smith. So you could go check out her stuff. She does quite a bit of content over there. I met Mystery Chris. If you watched the show, I met Mystery Chris, and then Adam Coleman was also there. So I hung out with him, and then I filmed two really awesome, very different podcasts last week. So first, I did Candace Horback's show, which, again, if you followed me for a little while, I've done Candace's show before, but it was virtual, and this one was in person. So I got to meet Candace in person for the first time, and we had a really just cool, chill discussion. It was pretty laid back conversation that we were having. It was almost like talking to somebody I've been friends with for a long time. It was really cool. I enjoyed myself there. And then I filmed with John Papola over at Emergent Order, where I have a few of my friends are over work at Emergent Order, and I did the Dead Saves America podcast. So I don't know when those episodes are coming out, but if you watch just pay attention to my channel, and we will I'll let you guys know when those things come out. I gotta tell you, like, that episode of Dead Saves America was probably the longest one-on-one conversation that I've ever had on camera. It was about 2.5 hours. I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to be when everything's all said and done, but it was a long conversation, and it was probably one of the realest, just most open, honest conversations that I've had with anybody. And we were talking about trans issues in it. So, and just being very open with the way I view things, and the way that with the way that he sees things. And it was honestly a great conversation. So I can't wait again till it comes out and I can just share it with y'all. But yeah, I hope y'all had a good week. Good Easter if you're Christian. Happy Easter. I hope you had a good day hanging out with friends and family. I am Christian. My whole family's Christian. So I did not see my family though, because they don't live in Georgia. So I went to the baseball game yesterday. So that was fun. It was my first Braves game of the year. Had a good time doing that. Braves won. and that's kind of one of my favorite things to do on weekends is to go hang out at the Braves game. So yeah. But if you did not know, speaking of Easter, let's pull this up. Okay. Rest in peace to the Pope, who passed away this morning at 88 years old. It is really, it's kind of crazy that he passed away the day after Easter, but they said he had been dealing with some health issues. He had been in and out of the hospital with bilateral pneumonia. He had suffered respiratory issues since childhood. He was the first pope from the Americas. So he apparently he met with JD Vance yesterday. And then and JD Vance's statement says, I just learned of the passing of the Pope Francis. My heart goes out to millions of Christians all over the world who loved him. I was happy to see him yesterday, though he was obviously very ill, but I'll always remember him for the below homily he gave in the very early days of COVID. It was really quite beautiful. So yeah, that was the first thing. You guys know we just kind of try to keep updated on other stories that we've talked about in the past. So another one of I guess Donald Trump's orders, executive orders, was put on hold by the Ninth Circuit, 9th District Court, which, if I'm not mistaken, the 9th District is typically more I think they're up in the Pacific Northwest, so they typically do fall more liberal when it comes to their rulings. And I didn't see it reported either. So the passport ban from the Trump administration was also kind of put on hold. The judge ruled that the nine plaintiffs in the case would be allowed to get the passports that match their quote gender identity, including with an X on it. So that was the whole. So they put that as the stay, and the the primary injunction won. So we'll see what happens there as well. Now, talking about the trans-military ban, like y'all know that my whole stance is I don't believe in trans-military members being able to get surgeries because it takes them away from their job. They can't do their job properly. It takes them, like, they become non-deployable until they recover from surgery, everything like that. And then I still don't even know how somebody has one of these surgeries and then is able to, like, deploy. So, like, male to female surgery, you have to dilate once a week at least, and that seems pretty impossible when you're in a field setting. So I just don't think that and then just even having the surgery takes you out of the fight for at least a year. So I don't agree with that. But at the end of the day, I do think that if you are on, like, if simply taking hormones and stuff like that, if you can do your job, it should be treated as like any other soldier taking medication when they deploy and everything like that. So I think if you can do your job, then you should be able to stay in. So it's a nuanced opinion on this that I wish that, again, what the problem is you don't get nuance when you're talking about court cases and stuff like this. You get the president's ruling, which is ban all trans people from the military, and then you have the judge ruling based on that. The judge can't just go, oh, ban all, but then stop like these people, like these people should be allowed to serve. Like they don't make law. Courts just interpret laws. They don't make laws. And honestly, the part of the issue is that all these are in their policies, their executive orders. They're not law. Congress didn't pass a law for these things. So that's always it's always the tough call, because it's not a law. Congress didn't pass anything. It's simply just a small executive order that the president signed, which the next president can just completely undo. So, all right, going into the stories of the week, we have one of the craziest, cringiest things you saw was I don't remember who all it was that they sent into space. It was Katy Perry, Jeff Bezos' girlfriend. It was Gayle King. It was 5. So they sent 5 women into space. Well, into the edges of space. Basically for a field trip. Basically for the basically just took a field trip to space. Gayle King was mad because I'll play that clip in a second, but it's so ironic because they were making this all about like women empowerment and everything like that. And one of the takes, and actually I think it was Josie, the redheaded libertarian, pointed out, was like this wasn't for female empowerment or anything like that. It was actually more just to make space travel seem like everyone can do it. You know, so they put people who are not astronauts into space because it makes it seem like we're not far off from tourist trips to space, which is really what Blue Origin, I believe, is doing. I don't know. So SpaceX is doing a lot more with like the science aspects and stuff like that. I believe Blue Origin is more so just a pay to play. Let's send people to space and be let's send people to space for like if they have enough money to go to space and stuff. And it was so funny watching them claim that they were astronauts and stuff like that. What's really ironic, though, and when you really think about it, it was billed as this like women empowerment. But the thing is the rocket was driven, I guess, or flown by an engineer on the ground. Apparently a male engineer on the ground. I can't verify that. A male engineer on the ground, and the rocket itself was shaped like a giant penis. And the irony of that is not lost. And then Katy Perry, I don't have this clip either, but Katy Perry came out and she was doing an interview, and it was like when she's doing this interview, she's speaking gibberish and nonsense, and it didn't make any sense. But like this was one of the most cringe things that happened, because it's like she gets off and just like kissing the ground.
Katie!
That was cringe, obviously. But then this is the interesting thing, right? So this is what this kind of sets up. You have now, like, I'm not going to talk about like the Dave Smith and what is it? What's his name? Murray. I forget what his name is. That debate where Murray was like, yeah, you got like talking about being an expert and talking about things, or you have to go somewhere to really understand it. But it's like now this is an insufferable clip. And actually, Bridget Fedesi makes a great point after this, because it's like they really thought like this was like the elitist thinking. They thought that they were going to be received like astronauts after they got back from this trip. And people are just like, you guys didn't do anything. They just sent you into space, and it didn't, like, it wasn't. Oh, Douglas Murray. Yes, thank you. Douglas is the name. It was like this big thing, but she's making it seem like now nobody can talk about this about space, because you haven't been there, and it's kind of goes into the Douglas Murray conversation of not having been there, which is kind of funny in and of itself. But here's what Gayle King says.
This is what bothers me, because I've certainly read some of the things online coming from people that I know, that I like, that I consider friends. And this is what I would say to that. Space is not a either or, it's a both and. And because you do something in space doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Earth. And what you're doing in space is trying to make things better here on Earth. What Blue Origin wants to do is take the waste here and figure out a way to put it in space to make our planet cleaner. I mean, Jeff Bezos has so many ideas, and the people that are working there are really devoted and dedicated to making our planet a better place. That's number one. Number two, have you been? Have you been? If you've been and you still feel that way after you come back, please let's have a conversation. Number three, please don't call it a ride. That is not a friggin' ride. Whenever a man goes up, you have never said to an astronaut, boy, what a ride. You know, we duplicated the same trajectory that Alan Shepard did back in the day, pretty much. No one called that a ride. It was called a flight. It was called a journey, because a ride implies that it's something frivolous or something that's lighthearted. There was nothing frivolous about what we did, and the machine that we were on, and what it took for the people to get that machine up and running, to get us up and get us back down safely. So, I'm very disappointed and very saddened by it. And I also say this, the what it's doing to inspire other women and young girls, please don't ignore that. I've had so many women and young girls reach out to me, and men too, by the way, men too, that say, wow, I never thought I could do that, but I see you doing it at this stage of my life. Who would have thunk it? Not me. And how inspired they are. This is what.
So, well, that was the one thing you hear her say when when astronauts do this. Like, she's claiming to be an astronaut. Um, Even the people that were there said by no measurable means were they astronauts. And you're right, Grasshopper. Who is this we she's talking about? We, like as if she's part of this this newfound club. I mean, she is part of this newfound club that like has been to space. I think it is hilarious that she's like, "Have you been?" Because talk to me when you get back. Like basically, like you can't talk about this until you've been to space. I haven't been to space. Most of us haven't been to space, but we can still call it a ride. It's so funny because she's projecting, because she's like, you call it this frivolous thing. It is a frivolous thing. You didn't need to go to space. You basically you went up to as a self promotion, as a promotion for Blue Origin, to again start taking clients to space and everything like that. Now she did talk about the environmental stuff and trying to figure out how to send waste and everything into space. Yeah, the whole trip was exactly what a frivolous trip would be. It was a ride. What else did she say? Let me see.
What bothers me online, coming from people that I know. Space is not a either or, it's a both. You do something in space doesn't mean you're taking, is trying to make things better here on Earth. What Blue Origin wants to make it cleaner. I mean, Jeff Bezos has so many ideas, and the people. Have you been? Have you been? If you've been and you still feel that way after you come back, please.
Like a lot of this I can't even understand what she's saying, because it is very it's gibberish. Like it's like, if you've been there and you're still saying that, then let's talk. But I don't like, what? Like, what are you talking about? But she's talking about Jeff Bezos, which is really interesting, right? Because just a couple weeks ago, they were calling Jeff Bezos a ton of names for being at the Trump inauguration, right? Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon and or the founder of Amazon, and owner of the Washington Post. Like, most of the lefties that she's even trying to talk about are not big fans of people like Jeff Bezos. And all this does is show that if you have enough money, you can go to space. That's it.
Please, let's have a conversation. Number 3, please don't call it a ride. That is
It
not
is a ride.
no one called that a ride. It was, and what it took for the people to
There's a difference between being the first to do something and it like attempting to do something that may not be safe, and just doing it in a way that you know it's safe and that you will make it through. There's one, like, that's the whole thing. Like, when Columbus sailed the ocean searching for land, that was brave because he was setting sail into an unknown world. Same with this guy flying to space. But if I go get on a cruise ship, like if I go get on a cruise ship, then it's not brave because it's this new thing that, you know, we know that there's not going to be like any issues. We know where land is. We know where we're gonna go. It's like, as technology gets better, as things get safer, we get to do things. So, yeah, actually, Robbie, I think you're right. I think Virgin may be doing the same things because Richard Branson, who owns Virgin, I know he actually had a TV show a while back that was like about thrill-seeking like millionaires, like people that wanted to be like him, like a thrill-seeking millionaire. And that's kind of what the Blue Origin, the Virgin Galactic type things are. Whereas like SpaceX is working with NASA to actually to fly space missions, and their goal is to like get us to Mars. So I think that those are very different goals. Like, astronauts themselves go up and stay at the space station for months and months at a time and actually have a job that they're doing while up there. These people just went up there for, it was a ride. They took a ride into space and came right back. Like, it was a joyride. Like, it's like a trucker drives a truck for work, and it actually has a mission when doing that. If I just take a car out on the road and just kind of cruise around, that's a joyride. So this was basically a joyride on a space rocket because you have enough money to do so. You know. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about them. Like, that, the whole situation was, it's so laughable. Like, the whole thing was so cringe. And now they're upset that they weren't like hailed as these like super amazing people for going up there. Yeah, that they weren't inspirational. It's a lot of money to spend on a publicity stunt. Yeah, it wasn't the inspiration, Grasshopper, yeah, that they were looking for. It absolutely was. But that is the thing. So it was a publicity stunt, which Jeff Bezos paid for. And like somebody said earlier, Katy Perry got to promote her new tour that's coming up. Blue Origin essentially got all the publicity for being able to send people into space on these chartered flights. Basically, you'll be able to go up there for a chartered flight if you have enough money to pay for it. And I think that's kind of going to be like the space tourism is kind of the next wave of tourism. So, and I think that, you know, Blue Origin, while they claim that they're doing stuff to help the environment and all that stuff, maybe that's cool. Cool. But if they're doing that, I mean, that's the side benefit of sending people, but they're not even really doing much. They're just sending them into the atmosphere. They're not sending them out into space. So I don't know. Then there's people I don't even know. There's a conspiracy theory. I'm not even gonna question on this whether they actually made it or not. I think that they actually made it into the orbit. But I think what we saw was real. Okay, I'll say that. But all right, for the title slide, or for the title, today story, we have Kristi Noem, the Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security, was robbed at Easter dinner in DC last night. Okay. And this has really caused a big stir online, and as you can imagine why, right? Her job is Homeland Security. She actually has Secret Service protection herself, and yet she was robbed at dinner. So that's not even that crazy. So this raises the question, right? What was her security detail doing? How was somebody able to even get this close to her while she was at dinner? Which there's so many questions now surrounding this whole thing that I have, because so it was her bag was stolen, and it had, let's see, what did they say it had? Her bag had $3,000 in cash. It also had her driver's license, her passport, DHS badge, makeup, checks, medication, and keys in it. According to the Secret Service, there was the prime suspect is a white man in a surgical mask. The Secret Service has launched an investigation into track down any use of Noem's cards. It's unclear whether the suspect has been identified. Why would honestly, real talk, like why would they use any of her cards when she had $3,000 in cash? Secondly, who carries around $3,000 in cash? According to the Daily Mail, DHS spokesperson said her entire family was in town, including her children and grandchildren. She was using the withdrawal to treat her family to dinner, activities, and Easter gifts. I'm sorry. Something about this story smells fishy to me. Like almost like it was this is like some sort of setup. Like, again, where was her security detail? How did somebody get that close to her when she was eating dinner with her family where they could just steal her bag? When the bag was stolen, why didn't they go after the person on foot? Why was she carrying $3,000 in cash? And look, $3,000. I mean, was this actually her like paying somebody off? Like this was like the whole story? Was there like a payment there? And then this is a setup. We'll probably never hear about this story again after today. I mean, is somebody gonna be arrested for this? Probably not. They don't know who this person is wearing a surgical mask. I mean, we'll see. And the funny thing, or not, it's not the funny thing. The interesting thing about this, DHS, if they knew, if the people on her staff knew that she had stopped you or I carrying $3,000 in cash, there's a decent probability that they may stop us and then steal that money through civil asset forfeiture because it's an odd amount of money to be carrying on you at any given time, right? Like, if you guys don't know what civil asset forfeiture is, it's one of the worst things that government's allowed to do. It's essentially just theft. If government suspects that you may be doing something nefarious, you may be selling drugs or something like that, they can stop you. So if you get stopped and the government sees that you have a lot of cash on you, they all automatically assume that you have been doing something nefarious, and so that cash must have been obtained by illegal means, right? So basically, it's a way to stop the use of cash, from cash from being used. We've seen the government come in, steal. I mean, there's been people that said that they were a business owner, that they were going to pay cash for something. It was like $30,000 they had on them, and police just took the $30,000. The person was never. It's like the people are never found guilty of a crime, and this is the other problem. They never charge you even if they charge you with a crime, and you're found not guilty. They never give you your cash back. They never give you your money back. They literally just keep your money and put it into the slush fund. So it incentivizes police officers to go out there, find people that are carrying large amounts of cash, take that cash, and then they can spend it on stuff at the police station. So again, why is Kristi Noem carrying $3,000 in cash out here? I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I don't. I'm like, there's so much here that I don't like. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, this whole story doesn't make sense. Let me see. Yeah, a lot of people are kind of sharing the same thoughts on this thread. How in the world was somebody allowed to get that close to her? This is another failure of Secret Service. Great question. Yeah. The two main questions people have are exactly what we brought up. $3,000. Who walks around with cash? Where was Secret Service? This dude. Like, if I had $3,000 in cash just on me, on my person, I'm gonna be a mental wreck because that's a ton of money just to leave sitting around for somebody just kind of come in and grab. But it is DC, and okay, so it is DC. So you're just walking around with $3,000 in cash in Washington DC. That also makes no sense to me. Like, why? DC is a hotbed for violent crime. Now, I guess if she thinks that she's got Secret Service, but the other thing that this is a good point from the automated bot. The DHS credentials were stolen. So think about that. Like, whoever has this has her badge now. Theoretically has access to the DHS offices where they may or may not have classified information. But even still, like, they can now get into DHS offices. I do assume, I'm going to hope that they have closed out her badge won't work to open the door. Like, that would make sense that they shut that down. It's a security risk, to say the least. But everything about this story screams security risk. Yeah, I don't get this whole thing. Maybe she forgot her purse and then somebody stole it. Like, there's something here. There's a lack of judgment, a lapse of judgment that's going on here that we're not getting the full story here. Like, either there was a handoff supposed to be made and it was poorly done. This is conspiracy minded theories right here. This is just just thinking out loud. Like, either some sort of handoff was supposed to be made and this was a setup or a trap and this is just going to go away, or it was just it was a security lapse by the Secret Service, or it was a security lapse by her. Like, did she get up and like walk away from the table with $3,000 and all her credentials and stuff in her bag and then forget about it, and then somebody came by and stole it? To be quite honest, that doesn't sound like somebody that I would want running the Department of Homeland Security. How is she going to make sure that the homeland is secure when she can't even secure her own bag? Like, it takes me back to like my time in the military, right? Like, you learn to have all of your stuff, like secure your stuff at all times. Like, you go into basic training knowing that if you leave something unlocked, it will get emptied out and searched. Like, secure your stuff, Christy Noem. Like, how is a bag with $3,000 like not on your shoulder at all times? And I wonder how much makeup was in there, because we all know Christy Noem has been, what is it, the girl boss, what they call her, girl boss Barbie, like, when going on these raids and doing all these photo shoots. I talked about Christy Noem in the last episode. Yeah, she's a fancy lady, Grasshopper. You're right. She's a fancy lady. I did hear there were some rumors about why she might have cash because she's trying to keep some of this money off the books. I'm not going to even repeat it because I don't know. That's all speculation. I'm not here to be a gossip channel, but I just don't know. I don't carry like in DC. Yeah, this person nails it. A lot of people laugh at me for guarding my purse. This is exactly why I carry my purse up front so people can't steal it. But again, I carry a crossbody, so you can't like just rip it off. And I'm not even necessarily worried about like this. I don't put my bag down though for the same reason. Somebody could just easily grab it, and I don't even carry that much stuff in it. It's definitely not like $3,000 worth of stuff. I don't know. Yeah, man. But all right, enough belaboring the point of Christy Noem's. I'm just gonna say incompetence. It's either her or Secret Service that messed up, or it was on purpose. Those are like the three ways. Those are the three things that I could see. But one of the big things that I really was gonna, before all this stuff with Christy Noem came out today, I was like, I'm gonna talk about RFK Jr. RFK Jr. was all over. Was the big talk on X this last week. because he so he announced that they are launching 3 new studies to find out what is causing autism. This is something that he's talked about for a very long time. People have, I mean, he's speculated that it's vaccine injury, but that's exactly why he wants to do the studies, because we still don't know what causes autism, which is kind of nuts in this day and age. So he wants to launch a investigation into it and figure out what it is. Whether he's right or wrong on what he thinks it is irrelevant. But it wasn't that. It was that people, the response to what his statement said is quite telling. So here's this first statement that everybody's clipping, and you'll see here.
Sure. This is an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional and regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children. Sir.
So that's the clip that everybody's showing about this. They're saying he generalized all of autistic people in this same light, which is the non-high functioning autistic people, which this is the problem is I'm going to explain why the problem with the response here is because autism is such a massive, it's a big spectrum where we should have different classifications for those on the spectrum. And like even last year they took or not last year, but recently and within the last few years, they incorporated Asperger's disease into the definition of autism. So now Asperger's is technically politically incorrect, even though it's your highest of functioning autistic people that most people think of when they think of autism. No, so Grasshopper, I didn't see Walls' wife, her response to it, but I saw a lot of responses. People thinking autistic people do all this stuff. RFK just doesn't see them as human. That's not true. I don't believe that's true. He's coming at this from a place of compassion. Let's remember this. And then this person's like, oh, this is cruel, ableist rhetoric masquerading as concern. RFK reduces children with disabilities to economic burdens and stripped humanity. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. Living with why are people so against studying autism and the cause of autism when it is a much different life? I think it's the exact opposite. I think somebody like this who's trying to attack RFK Jr., this person is the cruel one. All these, see, this person, it's like there's a ton of them. All these people are the cruel ones who don't want to find out find a cause. They don't want to find a cure. They don't want to help people live normal functioning lives for the 25%. So the 25% of autistic people who are nonverbal and need assistance for the rest of their lives, RFK Jr. is exactly right, and we should be figuring out what the cause is. Like, this is the thing. Let me see. I responded to this. Let me see. Where is my response? So this person was like, the way that RFK Jr. talks about people with autism is disgusting. These kids will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. We just heard it. And I said, no, this is pretty accurate. He says in the speech that he was speaking about 25% of those on the spectrum, and it's called a spectrum for a reason. Most people's only interactions, this is the key point right here. Most people's only interactions with people who are with people who have high functioning autism and have never interacted with the minority group RFK is speaking about. And because of this, the perception is that it doesn't exist. It's one reason Asperger's was originally a separate diagnosis, but there's such a wide range in this neurodivergency to classify them all. And so because you have 75% of the community are more high functioning and we see them in society every day. So like, think about this. If you meet 10 autistic people and say 8 of them are high functioning, your perception, or say you meet 8 autistic people, 8 out of 10 autistic people, you meet 8 people and you don't meet the other 2. That means that your perception is going to be that all autistic people are very high functioning people. And it's not true. I know I do know of one person I met, a person who I was in the military with, who had a child who was nonverbal, was probably, I don't know the extent, but I saw it happen. I saw it with my own eyes, but they were nonverbal. And I don't know if they were going to, like, how much assistance they needed, but they would probably need assistance for the rest of their lives. And that's the reality for about 25% of the people out here that have autism. And we should be wanting to look for a cure. We should be wanting to study what causes it so we don't. So like here's Elizabeth Warren. I won't share RFK's lies about autism. It's disgusting and dangerous. If he had a shred of decency, he would apologize and resign. Autistic people contribute every day to our nation's greatness. To every kid with autism, I'm in this fight with you. Data Republican responded. This is a good response. I'm writing you as someone in the position you claim to represent. I'm profoundly deaf. I live with severe speech and language impairments. I'm functionally nonverbal. I also have mild autism, precisely the kind of neurodivergence you and others are invoking to score points against RFK Jr. This is one of the most disingenuous and cynical things I've seen from you, particularly given your claims of being an advocate for the disability community. Living with a disability is not a metaphor. It's not a symbol. It's not something to be used selectively when politically convenient. Disability is real, physical, and often brutal. You're using people with mild autism to hold up as a shield to attack RFK Jr., ignoring the obvious context of his remarks. You know full well he was referring to severe autism, the kind that robs people of speech and autonomy. He was not calling for the eradication of people like Elon Musk. He was talking about helping the children who scream through the night, who can't speak or hold a spoon, who wander into traffic because their sensory systems don't register danger. To collapse all of autism into one political narrative is not advocacy. It's betrayal of those of us with disabilities. And it reveals that your commitment is not to us, but to score political points against the other side. If you genuinely cared about us, you would be making distinctions loudly. Instead, you flattened us for a talking point. You do not speak for me. And that's the best response I think I've seen on this, because it's absolutely right. And again, this is why we need the diagnoses for severe autism and high functioning and Asperger's and all different types of autism need to be separated, because that's the problem when you have a diagnosis that's such a spectrum. that it covers people that will need assistance for the rest of their lives, and people who are some of the like Elon Musk, some of the geniuses of our day, right? Most autistic people that I know with high functioning autism are highly intelligent people. Autistic people tend to be on the gifted scale. That's why sometimes it's hard to diagnose it, because they just get seen as gifted. But it's such a wide spectrum, and so your perception gets created. People's perception gets created by what they see. And so if almost with what most people see about autistic people are like those on Love on the Spectrum, or Elon Musk, or other high functioning autistic people, they're not really getting the full scope of what this is, and why a lot of people want to find out exactly why. And they're trying to push this narrative that it's like they want to eradicate, like to say that you want to cure autism. They're trying to claim that Elon or RFK Jr. wants to use Nazi style eugenics to eradicate it from the earth, which is just, it's just not the case. It's kind of insane to me that people would think that that's the history and what they want to do. I'm like, he's looking at studying it. He's not looking at, like, he's not advocating anything but to study the cause. Yeah, it's always the extreme rhetoric. It's always the extreme rhetoric. And then this is the part that really is insane to me, is when you this is a crazy part. So this is, again, how the media, and I'm not just going to say the left does this, the right does this too, but how people on the internet take small clips from a longer video, a longer speech, and then they clip it for their narrative. So say you can't even claim that he was talking about, like, we don't even have to understand that he was talking about a minority in the population, the most extreme cases of severely autistic people. He said it. He said it in the speech, and they didn't care. They listened to the clip and said, "Oh my gosh." But when you watch the entire video, people should have egg on their face, but they don't care because not enough people saw this. So this is what he said after that, or in a different part of the speech. Oh wait, did I lose my comments? Oh, wait. No. Oh, that's why it's not even on the screen. Ha. There we go.
ASD prevalence rate in 8-year-olds is now 1 in 31. Shocking. There's an extreme risk for boys. Overall, the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20. And as high in California, which has the best data collection. So it probably also reflects the national trend, 1 in 12.5 boys. This is part of an unrelenting upward trend. Prevalence 2 years ago was 1 in 36. Since the first ADDM report in 1990, which was 1992 births, autism has increased by a factor of 4.8. That's 480%, I believe. The first ADDM survey was 22 years ago, when prevalence was 1 in 150 children. In all the core states, the trend is consistently upward, and most cases now are severe. So about 25% of the kids who are diagnosed with autism are nonverbal, non-toilet trained, and have other stereotypical features, head banging, tactile and light sensitivities, stimming, toe walking, etc.
So again, he goes in and says about 25% of those that are diagnosed, and he gives all these stats, which are so there's some explanation. So here's the stats he's talking about. Like this is the CDC's autism reports from 1970 to 2025. Part of this, so part of this is the expansion of the spectrum that is autism. So again, and I don't remember when when Asperger's was added to the report, but it accounts for some of this. You have you also, as he was talking about, with mostly boys, that's part of the issue that we see right now, right? So and actually, if you go back and watch my interview with Christina Buttons, we talked a little bit about this, where most of the diagnosis criteria for autism, and especially Asperger's, was what we were talking about, but most of the diagnosis criteria is for males, is for young males. And so we're just starting to find out that young females present autism differently than young males. And so the diagnosis criteria has to change. And so as that stuff started to change, we've seen higher diagnoses. So obviously that's going to happen. But at the same time, this is a very drastic change to just be accounted for by better diagnosis criteria, or I would say almost more lenient diagnosis criteria, adding Asperger's into there, adding other stuff. And you're conflating again, if it's 1 in 31 and 25% of that is severely autistic and will need to live with assistance the rest of their lives. That's a significant thing. And I don't know like why we wouldn't look to try to find the cure, or not even the cure. Like if you have autism today, I don't know if it can be cured, but prevent it. Like can we get rid of autism because we've prevented it from people getting it early on? And there's some concerns I would have with some of this stuff. Like, people, like some people would want, like with Down syndrome, there is the question that people have when it comes to Down syndrome is, if you had a baby that you knew had Down syndrome, would you abort it? I mean, I think abortion is wrong. And so my answer would always be no, but that's an ethical question that has been on people's minds in the past, which that is like the whole idea that you would abort a Down syndrome baby that's eugenics. That's the eugenics that they're talking about. And so they don't, the left is not consistent in this manner when it comes to autism and eugenics. What's interesting, again, is the connection with autism and transgenderism. I'm not going to use gender dysphoria. I think it's more in line with rapid onset gender dysphoria than true gender dysphoria, as we've talked about it. I don't like the term rapid onset gender dysphoria, but I think the people with higher cases, people with higher cases of autism are more susceptible to gender ideology and claiming onto this identity that they are trans, and simply because of the way that autism presents in the body. And we see a high comorbidity of autism. So in the trans population, there is a high comorbidity of people who have autism and other mental health issues, not just autism. But this seems to be a prevailing trend to where a lot of I'm going to say transgender again, because it's not necessarily the transsexual crowd that we're talking about here. It's those, and it's actually a lot. We see it in the detransition community a lot. because they are the ones that go into it. They hyperfixate on gender affirming stuff, being the different gender that they don't feel like the gender that they are, and then they hyperfixate, and then they just like then they get so far into it they realize they made a mistake, and wasn't the case, and nobody's asking the questions in the medical community on that side whether there could be this coalition between people with autism thinking that they have gender dysphoria but really don't. And so now you start talking about finding ways to prevent autism, and those same people are up in arms. It doesn't make sense. But again, I think it's a big issue when you have such a wide, you have a diagnosis that's such a wide spectrum. Having it such a wide spectrum, the fully function when one side of the spectrum is non-functioning, that they need help, the high performers, the high functioning autistic people are always going to overshadow, because people assume, like, basically just pretend that the other side doesn't exist. So, all right, last story. We're gonna do this one real quick. I don't know if you saw this. This is kind of an amazing story from where we came in just 5 years. So this is whitehouse.gov. Actually, if you go to covid.gov, this is what comes up, which is kind of amazing. The optics of Trump, though, I don't like this. Whoever designed this website, they didn't do a very good job. It looks like Trump is the lab leak. He was leaked out of a lab. But for the first time, the official position by the government of the United States, this administration, is that the origin, so this is what it says, the proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 publication, which was used repeatedly by public health officials and the media to discredit the lab leak theory, was prompted by Dr. Fauci to push the preferred narrative that COVID-19 originated naturally. It basically says the virus possesses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. So it wouldn't have ever. So basically, that says it would never. It's not likely that it was caused in nature. So lab leak theory makes more sense. The data shows that all COVID-19 cases stem from a single introduction into humans. This runs contrary to previous pandemics where there were multiple spillover events. So if it had occurred in nature, there would have been more than one person there would have been more than one, patient zero. There would have been multiple patient zeros because it would have been a naturally occurring thing in a wider area of things. We've talked about this before, where even Jon Stewart had this right a couple weeks ago, when he was talking about this. It's like Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research, gene-altering organisms supercharging at inadequate biosafety levels. 4 Wuhan Institute of Virology researchers were sick with COVID-like symptoms in the fall of 2019, months before COVID-19 was discovered at the wet market. Which I remember we had an idea that COVID was probably prevalent around Thanksgiving, I think, of that time is when we started first hearing things about it. I remember I was at home. I knew people around that time, around Christmas time that year, that were the sickest they've ever been. And it's like, you Yeah, you probably had it before it was even a thing. So I was probably exposed to it very early. By nearly all measures of science, if there was evidence of a natural origin, it would have already surfaced, but it hasn't. And so essentially it looks like, yeah, the it goes into gain of function research, EcoHealth Alliance, which was performing dangerous gain of function research in Wuhan. And if you remember, Fauci was giving EcoHealth Alliance money after 2014. So Barack Obama had banned gain of function research from happening after 2014. And so that is the thought. My thought is that's why Anthony Fauci's pardon goes back all the way to 2014, because he was doing some stuff that he shouldn't have been doing, that was banned under U.S. law, and they were receiving money through USAID and through EcoHealth Alliance, and that's how or I don't know if it was through USAID. Don't quote me on that. But he was receiving, government taxpayer dollars to conduct that outside the law. Now, and this is Fauci's pardon through January 1st, 2014. So that's what a lot of people, full and unconditional pardon against any offenses against the United States which you may have committed or taken part in. So this is the whole thing. A lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, Rand Paul. Now, if you want to learn more about this, like all of this, I do recommend going to watch, and you can go, it's right on the, go to freethepeople.org. It's the link in the bio, and go to series and then the cover up. So we have a series at Free the People called The Cover Up. First episode is with the new NIH director, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. Then Rand Paul himself is the second episode. And then after that, we had Scott Atlas, who worked inside the White House under the Trump administration in 2020. And then the last episode that we've released so far, episode 4, is out, and it's with Dr. Richard Ebright. And Richard Ebright takes you all the way back to 2021, when Anthony Fauci and Dick Cheney, under the guise of bioweapon protection, started performing put together the team to perform gain of function research on different animals and stuff, under the guise of, and it was mostly a DoD program to prevent to stop bioweapons, or if a country had gotten a bioweapon that could cause a pandemic, that we could easily, we would already have the vaccines and everything for it. It's a godlike hubris that one has, that thinks that you can actually do that with the infinite possibilities of what what you could do, and then to give one of our biggest adversaries, China, the research funding for it to fund bioweapons, essentially, is even more insane. But go and watch that episode. I mean, like I said, Richard Ebright brings all the receipts. He takes you back. He explains how Francis Collins and Anthony Fauci, he believes, are personally responsible for COVID-19. And in it, I will say, again, clarify that he notes that if it is determined that it is from a lab leak, which, as the White House is saying right now, that's what it looks like. Now, people are calling for Fauci to be arrested and everything like that, and we talked about that on the show before. It's gonna be very difficult to do because of this pardon right here, which is pretty much why I believe not saying this is fact, but why I believe he got this pardon. But yeah, go to the whitehouse.gov or just go to covid.gov and you can see there's a whole lot more in here that they talk about. They talk about Andrew Cuomo and sending patients to nursing homes and using that and covering it up. So with all that said, like there's a lot more going on here. I think go check out because remember, I mean, I'm saying this right now on YouTube, and I'm still a little bit nervous to say this on YouTube, even though I'm reading it straight from the White House's website. Remember, there was the White House and the federal government that under what was pressuring social media companies to cover up and silence anybody who didn't go along and ban people who were not going along with the official COVID narrative. So saying this on YouTube in 2020, if I had said this, I would have been banned. And so it's like, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this video. Even though I'm just literally reading off of here and giving my opinions of what's being reported out there. Go check it out. And again, go check out the cover up. That's probably your best bet when it comes to, it's probably, I mean, I'm a little biased because I work at Free, I work for Free the People, and I think it's, but even just non-biasly, I think it's the best 4 parts, and the series is still going. So, and so you can go to the Blaze TV when episode 5 comes out. Episode 5 of it is actually going to be with what's his name? Matt Taibbi from who had the Twitter files, and that's kind of, we'll go back into what I'm talking about here with online censorship. That's really what will break all that down. But I'm telling you, episodes 1 through 4 do an amazing job of summing up a lot of stuff when it comes to it. And the reason why episode 4 is called Smoking Gun is because it really, Richard Ebright lays out the case against Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins and the federal government. So make sure you go check that out. Like I said, that's you can find it all on freethepeople.org and go into our series. And while you're there, make sure you go check out all of our other amazing content over there. Like I said, this channel is not sponsored by Free the People, but I am the digital marketing manager over there. So this is an independent show. So what I say on this show is not necessarily indicative of what they say over with the opinions that Free the People are. They are just my personal opinions. But I would definitely, go check out what we're doing over there, because I'm proud of what we do over there. We have a lot of great work over there. So make sure you go check that out. But with that, if you made it this far, make sure you click that like and subscribe button below. Follow me across all social media platforms, and I will see you next time.